Here on Home Maintenance Mastery, I'll be talking to you about all different types of things for home repair. Just from basic, simple things like changing a light bulb or fixing leaky sinks, faucets, how to actually plumb a bathroom, getting into more detail on all different types of things. Even how to change your furnace filters, simple maintenance around the house. Some of the things you definitely want to think about doing on the regular. Check your smoke detectors is one of the best things that you should do every spring. So let's talk about some springtime things that you're going to be doing this year to check on your home to make sure that you don't run into any issues in the future. So first thing you can do, one of the best things you can do, is definitely check all your smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. If they're battery operated, you're going to want to take those down off of the ceiling or the wall, wherever they're located, and you're going to want to change those batteries in them. And go ahead and make a notation when you change the batteries in them. But if you do it every springtime, then you don't have to worry about it. So if you just start a springtime checklist where you can say, okay, I checked this off. That's my my smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. And if they've been there for more than 5 to 10 years, you're definitely going to want to replace them. So keep up on those. That's definitely one of the most important things in the home. There's a lot of times a carbon monoxide detector, if you don't test it and check it, it can fail and you wouldn't even know until you're going to sleep from it, because carbon monoxide, you can't even smell it in the home. It's an odorless gas, and if you have it building up in your home, it is deadly. So you want to make sure that your carbon monoxide detectors are working. In the springtime and the fall time are always the best times to check them, especially the fall, because you're going to be going into the winter, and then you'll be closing the house up with the furnace running. But even if you have a hot water heater that runs on gas, then that could put carbon monoxide into the house as well. Any kind of combustible surface or any type of combustible flames, open flames, things like that. So check your carbon monoxide detectors, check your smoke detectors. Some people have fire detectors too. They don't really have them too much anymore, but if you have those, check those as well. So the next thing on your checklist that you want to think about in the spring is definitely your furnace filter. If you have a forced hot air furnace and it has central air conditioning as well on the system, there's a 1-inch filter. Some people have 2-inch and 3-inch heavier filters like a HEPA filter, and there's electronic filters and things like that too. But for the majority out there, it's just a 1-inch filter that slides into your furnace area. You're going to want to make sure that that is definitely cleaned out. You want to replace that. So slip that out, put a new one in, and you should do that at least once every 3 months, depending on the type of filter you have. I'll be getting into details on different types of furnace filters and things like that in a future video. But definitely springtime is a great time to go ahead and change that furnace filter out if you have a forced air furnace or air conditioning unit that's going to be turning on. Now, I'm in a mixed environment, so we have hot and cold. Some of you out there that are watching me are going to be, you just have heatings. You deal with a warmer climate, I should say. So with that in mind, you still always want to check your filters, because you're going to be running your air conditioning. And at least once a month you should check it, because you don't want it to get overwhelmed with dust and then make it harder on your furnace to actually pull the air through it. The harder your furnace has to work, the more wear and tear it is on the motors and bearings, and can lead to costly repairs in the future. So check your furnace filter. I just had an error pop up. Are you seeing me okay right now?
Yep. Oh, I see your phone.
Okay. My stream setting, my signal is poor, it says.
Huh.
I don't know why. That's weird. It must be the internet or something. It shouldn't be though. It should be fine. Are you seeing me okay? Do you see the mouse when I roll the mouse over the screen?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, well, on to the next home maintenance that we're going to do in the springtime is definitely want to go through and clean your gutters out for the summer. So you're going to have debris that could have been built up from the fall if you didn't clean them out in the fall. If you didn't, you're going to definitely have, leaves and pine needles and things like that building up in the gutters. And you don't want the water running over past the gutter and coming down along the foundation of the house. That's the reason why you have gutters on the house. You want to make sure that you're collecting the water that runs off of the roof, because there's a lot of water that lands on the roof when it rains, and you want to direct that away from your foundation, and that's what a gutter is designed to do. So you want to make sure that your downspouts, when they come, when they get down to the ground and they have that 90-degree or whatever angle they're on coming away from the house, you want to make sure it's not dumping the water right along the foundation. Otherwise, it's basically a useless gutter system if it's there dumping the water out right at the foundation. You want to make sure that your downspouts are putting the water far enough away from the house that it's not pooling up along the foundation area. If you look around your house in the springtime and you notice that you have a lot of moss building up around the house, or you have gullies right by your foundation where the water is pooling up in there, you're definitely going to start opening yourself up to a chance for water damage in your basement. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the downspouts that come down off of the gutter system, that they're pitched far enough away from the house so that the water is not pooling back up along the foundation. Sometimes what you might have to do is you might have to raise the soil up a little bit and create a 1 inch per foot grade away from the house, meaning it drops 1 inch per foot as it comes out away from the house. So that way any water that comes down will pitch and run away from the house, and it doesn't pool up alongside the foundation and create issues, hydrostatic pressure along against the foundation. Those are things that you want to avoid. So if you clean the gutters out, make sure that they're clean up top, and then be careful, obviously, on ladders and things like that. If you can use a gutter cleaning system that hooks up to your, if you have like a pressure washer or something, most of the time it's best to go ahead and call a professional to get those cleaned out for you. Getting up on ladders can be very dangerous, especially up high, and never get on a ladder by yourself without someone holding it for you, okay? Especially up high. You get up over 6 feet on a ladder, you want someone holding that for you. A lot of accidents happen, people get hurt all the time. So with cleaning the gutters out, make sure that your downspouts are definitely pitched away from the house to a point where the water is not going to come back up to the foundation in any way or pool along the foundation. I see a lot of times that the downspout comes down and then there's no 90-degree on it with a pitch coming out at all, and the water's just dumping right against the foundation, and that causes problems. It deteriorates the foundation. It allows hydrostatic pressure to build up so that water can permeate through the block or the concrete and eventually end up in your home and create higher elevated humidity levels inside the basement, which can lead to secondary mold and things like that. So definitely want to get those gutters, pitching that water away from the foundation, and put that on your checklist for the springtime to check all your downspouts and make sure your gutters are clean. So what's another springtime maintenance thing that we can talk about after the winter? Well, when you look up at your house, when you're checking out your gutters, look at the fascia and the soffits. The fascia is that piece of wood that goes along the outer edge of the soffit on the house. That basically, it's usually behind the gutter. Obviously, the gutter will be against the fascia, and that fascia piece, a lot of times, that gets rotted. It gets deteriorated. It allows for the nails to pop out of the roof rafter ends, and then it starts to fall, and then your soffit starts to drop. So when you look up and you see your soffitting, if you see any gaps in the soffitting, like where it's starting to drop down, there's a good chance that you're having a problem with the fascia. Sometimes it's a metal fascia that goes on there, and it's nailed on, and they use little aluminum nails, and they never hold up. They always end up popping out. It's kind of a really poor system the way it's done. Most of the time, those nails are just driven up from the bottom of the soffit piece, the fascia piece that bends over the soffitting, and it's usually just a thin nail that goes up in there, and they never hold. They end up coming out over time, and that metal piece can fall down and allow water to get in behind there, and then you start having issues with it from there. So definitely walk around the house and look and see if you have any of your soffitting hanging down at all, or if the fascia is dropping down. Sometimes there isn't any metal fascia on there. Sometimes it's vinyl, and sometimes it's just painted right on that fascia board there. So if it is painted, unless you're trying to keep it aesthetically pleasing to the age of the home or something like that, if you can get that wrapped with some vinyl or some aluminum, it's a great thing to do to help keep those boards from rotting out in the future. So check your fascia boards, check your gutters. This is all has to do with the roof. And make sure you don't have any of your siding coming down at all, sagging, popping out, or anything like that up high. Because sometimes in winters with the winds and the ice, what happens is well, I lost my train of thought there for a second. It's tough. Sometimes the siding, what happens is when it's cold, it contracts and it doesn't move properly, or it pops some of the nails out or something like that, and it gets loose and then it comes down. So look up and see if any of your siding up high is hanging down at all, and if it is, obviously call a professional, or if it's something that you can manage yourself, you want to get that taken care of. One of the biggest things is making sure that you don't have the elements penetrating into the house. Anything that gets behind any of your outer layers can create water damage issues, and once you start having water come in, then it allows a path for insects. It allows any other types of pests. When there's soft wood to be able to chew through and things like that, it makes it easier for rodents and so forth to get into your house, as well as creating, like mold issues and things like that. So definitely want to go around and check your soffitting, check your fascia boards, and check your siding up high, and make sure that everything is intact and you're not having any issues where water penetration can come through. So the next thing you're going to want to look at for springtime is check all of your water spigots. I don't know if you turn them off. If you live in a cold environment and you turn them off inside, if you have a valve to turn your water spigots off inside so the water doesn't get out to the control outside, to the valve outside, that's the best thing to do, is to turn those off in the winter so that the ice doesn't, or the cold weather doesn't cause a freezing issue and you have a problem with your pipes. So once you turn that back on, definitely pressurize your system and make sure that you don't have any leaks. If you hear water running, even though your valve is shut off outside, and after you turn the valve on inside, it's going to run for a second and then it should pressurize up, and you shouldn't, you should hear it stop. And if you hear water continue running, then you're going to want to shut that valve back off, because there's a good chance that you had a freeze up or a leak. for a leak. So check your water spigots. Make sure you don't have any issues with that. And then your next thing that you're going to want to check for the springtime is your hot water heater. It's been working all winter long. So now's a good time to check on it. And depending on how long you've had it in the house, it's going to determine whether or not it's a good time to replace it. Remember, with your hot water heater, you don't want to wait until it fails to replace it. It's always best to replace it before it fails. And what I mean by fails, usually when they fail, what happens is they end up leaking and causing water damages to you and your home. And you don't want that to happen. So you can look at the stickers on the side of your furnace or of your hot water heater, and should have a manufacture date on it, and they usually have somewhere between a 3 and 6 year warranty. Some of the higher range models can get upwards of 10-year to 12-year warranties, but you should definitely know when the warranty ends on your hot water heater, because that's when the hot water heater can pop. So make sure that you're within that time frame and replacing your hot water heater before you have an issue. If you're getting towards the end of its warranty life, then you definitely want to replace it. But as long as you're not having any leaks currently and things are working fine, then that you can check that off on your list. I need a clock. Let me see, what time is it?
7:17.
Wow, I've been talking for 17 minutes straight. You must be tired of hearing me talk.
You're doing good. I hear a lot of talking.
Oh.
There you are.
I accidentally hung up on you. Sorry about that.
Okay. You're gonna have to edit our call.
What's that?
You're gonna have to edit our call.
I have to edit for coffee?
Talking.
Yeah, that's what editing is for.
Okay.
But I don't have much hair.
What did you say?
So I don't have much hair on there, do I?
No, I don't say that.
All right, so here we are talking about springtime maintenance coming out of the winter. What's the next thing we want to look at? Well, you know, the windows have been exposed to the elements. And around the windows you have your trim work. Sometimes it's what's called J-channel for the siding. And sometimes you have a metal wrap on it, just like your soffitting, or it has a vinyl edging. But you definitely want to take a look at your windows and look for any signs of water penetration. When you look at your windows, if you see around the trim, you see the nail holes were never filled or something like that, or any of the trim work that's around the window is starting to pop or look uneven at all, starting to swell, then those are signs of potential water damage and for water intrusion. So you want to look around. Obviously, start at the top of the window if you can, around the outside top of the window, and make sure there isn't any path for the water to get in there. A lot of times what happens is the caulking or silicone, whatever was used around your windows, if used at all when the installation was done, a lot of times that can fail and you start to have gaps and allowing for water or insects and things like that to get into the house. So you want to make sure that all of your caulking around your windows, around the trim of the windows, any of that stuff needs to be checked to see if there's any kind of potential areas for intrusion, and re-caulked and sealed. So that's a great springtime thing that you want to look at so that you're prepared for any storms and things like that in the summer. And obviously springtime rain, a lot of times that's when most of the water damage happens. Okay, so now that you've gone through your checklist and you've checked your soffitting, you've checked your gutters, you've checked your fascia boards, you've checked your windows. You want to do the same thing around any of the doors. Look at the trim on the doors. On your exterior doors, there's a couple of different components that you want to look at there. Obviously, get yourself a can of some type of lubricant, like everyone I'm sure has heard of WD-40, or there's also fluid film, which is a good one. So on your doors, what you can do is you can spray your hinges on your doors, work some of that lubricant into the hinges. You also want to spray that inside the locks and inside all the mechanisms of your locks, like where your deadbolt, open up the deadbolt, spray around the actual deadbolt itself, and then work it back and forth a little bit so that keeps that smooth and loose and prevents wear. As well as your keys. You want to spray keyholes and just work your keys in and out of the keyholes and keep your doors working good. Now around the door frame, a lot of times there's going to be some foam that's in there. That's weather seal. Okay, that weather seal strip, a lot of times on certain doors that'll just pop right out and you can put a new one in. So if it looks like that weather stripping is starting to get too crushed down, you're starting to see sunlight through the door, you definitely want to think about replacing the weather stripping around the door. You can usually just pull it right out, and then there's a little fin on the new one, you just pop it in. You might have to work it a little bit to get it in there. But definitely you want to look at all of your weather stripping around your doors. Now sometimes what happens is when you put the new weather stripping in the door, what's going to happen is your door is going to not close as easily. That weather stripping, because it's new, it's going to have a little bit more strength to it and not be crushed down as much, so you might have to close your door a little bit harder or adjust where the latch goes on the door. So keep that in mind if that happens. I actually have a video on how you can fix some of that stuff. It's in the channel. I think it's under the maintenance area. Well, I've been live for 41 minutes right now, and is it almost 7:30?
Yeah, it's 7:25.
Okay. So I haven't had anyone pop in yet on my live stream.
No.
Please use keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently keyframes are not being. What is this? Okay. Just looking at my stream health here. This is all new, Okay, does anyone have any questions about any projects that they're working on in their home or thinking about starting this year? Just go ahead and leave a question in the comments in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about springtime maintenance around the house. Continuing on, we've gone over the gutters, the soffit, the fascia, the siding, the windows, the doors. The next thing you want to take a look at is your foundation. So take a walk around the house, look at the foundation where the siding meets the foundation. Look for any discrepancies there where insects or rodents or moisture can get in behind there. A lot of times there's a starting plate that for vinyl siding, or you'll have a wood board there for like wood siding, your trim board on the bottom that can get rotted, or look for holes in it, see if anything over the winter found a way into your house. You're going to want to patch up any of those holes if you have a wood trim around there, or you might want to have that wrapped with some aluminum, just like the top, the fascia. If you have a J channel along there or any kind of vinyl trim, definitely look at, if there's vinyl trim, look at the caulking, the silicone, and make sure there isn't any gaps there. Basically, you want to tighten up the envelope around the whole house, in the springtime. It's a great time to go through, and because animals start getting more active as soon as the weather starts to break. Insects start finding their ways into your home, and it's definitely a good time to go around and tighten things up. So when you're looking at that trim board on the bottom, or the J channel that goes along the bottom of vinyl siding, you definitely want to look and see if it's loose anywhere, or if it's pulled away or fell down, or if you have any kind of gaps there at all. Definitely want to make sure those are sealed up. There's different types of systems for sealing that area up. You can go around with some silicone, obviously, but there's also some metal systems that can mount on there to keep a nice tight envelope on there. A lot of professional, like insect companies and things like that, will charge quite a bit of money to put that on your house, but you can also do it yourself as long as you're handy enough to do it. The tighter you have the envelope around the house, the harder it is for the elements to get in, the insects to get in, and any kind of rodents to get in. So springtime is a good time to go around and look for any of that stuff there. So check the bottom of that siding where it meets the foundation. Now when you're looking at the foundation, once you go around and check all your siding, the next thing you want to look for is any cracks in your foundation, any deteriorating. If you have a block foundation, you want to look for any deteriorating mortar in between the blocks. Excuse me. Sorry. So yeah, you want to look for any deteriorating mortar around the blocks. And if there is any mortar, any holes in the mortar, or it looks like it's falling out or loose or anything like that, you want to do what's called point it up, and that's get some new mortar mix and fill those gaps in. Springtime's the best time to get started on that, because we get a lot of water in the spring. So go around, look at your foundation, look at where it meets the ground, make sure you don't have any deterioration there. Look for any moss building up on your foundation, or if you have paint on the foundation, if the paint is starting to flake and things like that, you're going to want to scrape that off and get that repainted. However, once you scrape that paint off, you want to make sure that you have several dry days before you go ahead and put any kind of a sealer or paint or water stain on any kind of water block on there, anything like that. You want to make sure that it's nice and dry so it bonds well. So a good couple of warm, dry days or a week would be good, especially coming out of the winter, because a lot of times in winter we have snow in the environments that have the mixed or cold temperatures. There's a lot of snow sitting against the foundation, a lot of times the lower portion of it. And it just sits there and it saturates the foundation, because concrete is porous and it will want to absorb it. It has an equilibrium where it'll absorb a certain amount and release a certain amount, but you don't want to try and seal it while it's wet. There is water seals and stuff like that you can do while they're wet, but it's always best to do it when it's dry if you can. Well, I think that's going to conclude the session for today. Thanks for joining me. If you were there and you didn't leave any comments, that's okay, but I appreciate everyone stopping in to listen to the very first live production of Home Maintenance Mastery. Please feel free to keep looking back again and see if I have any other live events coming up so that you can participate and get your questions answered. Well, thanks for watching Home Maintenance Mastery, where I help you build better.